Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in today. We've got an exciting guest coming in. Dan Fagan, he's with Commercial Brokers International. He's one of the top restaurant brokers in Los Angeles. This video is really geared towards Los Angeles. This is really all Dan does. He does some national franchises, I guess, but not too many. Really has a focus on Los Angeles. Great guy, has a lot of information for us. So stay tuned and we'll see what he has to say. Dan's been in the business for how many years?
16 years.
16 years.
Doing brokerage, and that's both commercial real estate and the business brokering.
Right.
And then prior to that, I was 23 years as an owner-operator of restaurants and bars. That worked every department from busboy to owner to manager to all of those kind of things.
So let's just knock something. Now, I've always thought that people that want to own a restaurant are probably a little bit off.
Yeah.
Okay, so you broker those restaurants, so I'm not sure where that leaves you, but I guess
that makes me just slightly over the edge, further from where most people want to own them.
We'll see that by the end of the video, won't we? All right, Dan, valuing a restaurant business. Why don't you just walk us through the key points on how to put a value on the restaurant?
Sure. So if I had to say if we're looking for five of them, if I just want to do five, I'll say the strength of the lease.
Okay.
That the existing location has, and or the strength of the lease that can be delivered to a new operator.
Okay.
So lease being number one. Let's write that down, ladies and gentlemen. You making notes? Because I am. Number two, we're going to look at licenses. So licenses could be anything from your ABC licenses in the event you're a place that wants to offer beer and wine or full liquor. It could also include if you're a chef and you have a location and you really want to take advantage of your chef experience and create excellent catering events for people off premise. There's a license called a 58 license, which allows you to cater off premises with those beer and wine licenses and or full liquor licenses that you have. So the level of the licenses that you have, those licenses also, when we're looking at them, we'll want to look at, is it a average license in that most Los Angeles licenses these days, if they've been brought in within the last 10 years, there's what's called operating restrictions on the licenses, and they've become quite heavily in favor of the local communities that are supporting these restaurants, as well as the police departments, which have a very large input as to the hours. So if you have a newer license, and those licenses could have restrictions anywhere from the hours of operation, but also the product mix that they're going to hold you accountable for. And that could be anything from, we want you to serve 50% food, 50% liquor at any given time. You must serve food at all times when you're serving alcohol, things of that nature. Or you could have what's called one of those older grandfathered liquor licenses. And by those, it could be an unrestricted liquor license. Those are extremely valuable when in place at a location. It will help your value. And those could be licenses that have no restrictions as to the product mix you're going to be putting out and or the liquor hours of operation. So that's number two. So we got.
Can I ask one thing?
Sure.
The pricing. How much do those licenses cost typically?
So if you're going to go out, there's a few ways of getting them. If you get a primary license through the ABC, they do have a lottery that you can apply for. I believe the fee right now is $12,500. You fill out a ton of paperwork, you submit it, they do the drawings in October, and then in October, if you're one of the lucky people that gets that license, you then have a period of time to place it at a acceptable building in the market that Los Angeles is allowing you to do. Okay. If you don't get it through the auction, then the only other way that you can get them is buying it directly from a secondary market. There are license locators, people that will sell you liquor licenses, and one of the more direct places to be in business sooner than later, if you had a specific location, is to buy an existing location, an existing bar or restaurant in the town that you happen to be in favor of, and transfer that existing liquor license over to you through your LLC, your corp, or as an individual, however you're going to protect yourself. So those are the three ways. If you buy in the secondary market, you will pay more of a premium.
Okay.
Right now, I would say the average price is around anywhere between $70,000 and $75,000 on the secondary market for a full liquor license. For a full liquor license that has 0 restrictions at a location, probably can get as much as $125,000 for it. So it really depends on what that license holds, and all those bells and whistles.
Okay.
So where we at? So we have
3.
lease, we have liquor license. Number 3 would be the level of the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, and the amount of equipment that's in place. They call that the FF&E.
Right.
So those assets, when you're going through, typically I'll ask a seller to give me their impression on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being complete throwaways and everything has to be replaced, to 10, everything's pretty much brand new and we maintain everything impeccably. Usually you're not finding many 10s that are selling.
Right.
Typically it's going to be somewhere right in between. So what we'll do is once we have that and we go through the place, we'll do a visual walk through the location, and I'll get a first-hand knowledge of, from my experience with working with a lot of this equipment, what I really feel is like things that are going to need to be replaced versus things that are ready to go. And then from there we look at that as one of the valuation markers for coming up with it. So that's the FF&E. We also have, we got the lease, the liquor, the FF&E, location. So location is really key. So there could be a guy that has a drive-through restaurant. Now in LA, drive-through restaurants, they're not allowing them to be built currently. You can take over existing and renovate them. But if you have, as an example, something like that, that's an ideal candidate for someone to really get top dollar. Whether we're selling that property for them, the actual property to a new operator, or whether we're just selling the lease opportunity with the FF&E that's within the property. So location. Right. The bigger parking lots that you have, the more accessibility to parking. If you're an inline place, versus a corner location, if parking is limited and it's a fast street like West 3rd at Beverly, where it's going to be really challenging for cars to get in there, in and out, it might make your valuation on the lower side. So we'll look at that in conjunction to the lease and the liquor and the FF&E.
Is the ideal location a signalized intersection?
It can be, yeah. I mean,
As long as
signalized
it's right
locations,
parking.
corners. I mean, parking really is the key point. You when you're looking at a location, you really want to have the accessibility to parking. Uber and Lyft are fantastic, and people are clearly taking advantage of those. Right. But you know, we're still living in Los Angeles, and cars are still the king. So if people don't have a way of getting in and out quickly, they might try you once, but they're probably going to go to the places that can get them in and out much faster. So that will definitely make a difference.
And one last thing on that location, signage, is that something you really put a value on?
I mean, there's things called monumental signage, which is like in historic buildings. It's the old things as you're driving by, the Googie architecture that might have some awesome signage, structurally eye appealing, that you can utilize. And in those cases, yeah, I mean, that's definitely a plus, but not so much. That's sort of just like talking points when you're actually selling that location. But I would say that the last marker that we look for when selling any of these businesses, be it, you know, coin operated laundromat, liquor store, what have you, we're going to look at any kind of historical sales that those people have. And if you're a business owner and you've sort of just been putting money underneath your pillow and keeping terrible records and all of that, you're not going to be able to justify excessively high sales volume for your sale if you can't warrant and justify the money that you're doing to a buyer, because at that point it's just speculation, and most people don't want to pay on speculation.
Because how do you trust?
Exactly. But we'll take all 5 of those points. So we have lease, liquor, FF&E, location, and sales, and I look at all of them from various angles and see what's going to be the best approach when I'm talking to that specific owner to say, based on everything that I'm seeing right here, here's where evaluation is. If I had to add one more point perhaps that I'm going to use for comparison, is you want to go online and see what else is on the market currently that might have some close resemblance to their business, and see what they have it on for. Make that call to those brokers and just sort of inquire as a buyer and just say, how long has that been on the market?
Where do they look?
There's a lot of different business brokerage communities out there. I'm certainly connected with all of them, so that's
Right.
where we do all of our marketing.
Right.
I work with a lot of other restaurants and business-focused brokers, so that I have my own community of those as well. Which when we're out there talking, we're seeing like, what do you have going on in this community, and what are you seeing as far as sales? Do you know anything? But it does take a lot of information. We do unfortunately get a lot of people that are either calling us too late
Right.
to sell their place, and in which case they need it sold yesterday, but they also need to get top dollar because they buried themselves in financial debt. Those unfortunately we're just not able to help most of the time. So I would say, if you know anyone that's in any business, whether they're a friend of yours, family, or yourself are looking into it, that it's always better to get the idea of what things can go for and understand the process for the sooner than later. Don't make this a last minute call, because it usually ends up biting you.
Yeah, well, you're not one to pull a trigger because you feel like you failed, and so I get why they wouldn't. But,
Sure.
Another thing though is, so many of these businesses are not on the open market. You've got to pick up a phone and have a conversation with an agent, and otherwise you're going to not see a lot of the value in these assets that are out there. So, anything else, Dan?
No, I think for that specific section, I think that pretty much well covers it.
Okay, well, if you guys have any questions that you want us to answer, we could do another video regarding any topics. Please leave it in the comment sections, and like this video and subscribe to the RRD on YouTube, and we'll keep putting these out. Thank you.